momentarily. There's a glare on my tablet. And this can go in the trash. Okay, it is 5:30. Good morning. I am Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today we are going to be talking about how to learn more effectively, part 1, because there are 10 strategies that you can use. I do not want to inundate you or overwhelm you, give you cognitive overload by going over all 10 of them today. We will be going over 5 today and 5 tomorrow. Okay, on your own, go ahead and inhale and exhale 3 times to let the brain know we are getting ready to get this party started. Okay, I see people are joining now. Lola, are you one of those people that are joining again on YouTube? I cannot see who is here until you say something. So on TikTok, but YouTube is protecting your anonymity, so I don't know who's actually here now. But if Lola, I know you might be working too. So if you're here, please let me know. And that's still too hot. Okay. All right. So in yesterday's lesson where we talked about the cognition, I was on a discovery. So I found a bunch more articles and information regarding learning, memory, and all of that. So we will continue to be using those things going forward. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is how can you teach yourself how to learn? How can you do that? So number one is you're going to improve your memory. You're going to improve your memory. Well, how can you improve your memory? You can improve your memory by exercise. You can get enough sleep. You can eliminate distractions. You can organize the info you study to make it easier to remember. You can use elaborative rehearsal, and that's when studying, elaborative rehearsal when studying. So when you're learning something new, you spend a few minutes describing it to yourself in your own words. I used to do this a lot when I was in college. I would take what I read after it took me a long time to read it, and then I would summarize it in my own words. I've mentioned this before when I worked at Frito-Lay. And in the Army, I would read it exactly because sometimes you had to do the states and say it exactly like that. And then I would say, well, what does this mean? And then put it in my own words because then it would be in my head and I would be able to retain the information better. The next one is use visual aids. So you can use pictures, infographics, videos, lives, graphics, and podcast as well so that you can hear, look, and see things. And then finally, read the info you are studying out loud. And so you can even go to the point of combining all of these things together. So for example, if you're exercising, you can listen to a podcast while you're exercising. You can turn on some audio while you're doing housework and cleaning, and you can put those two together. So that's how, number one, how you improve your memory. Number two is to keep learning new things. And I say it all the time, ABLing, always be learning. That's always be learning because you want to ensure that you keep adding to your working memory. And the only way to do that is to keep learning. So the brain is capable of producing new brain cells through neurogenesis, and the cells will eventually die unless you engage some type of effortful learning. So that means use it or lose it. It means keep using the information or the brain will naturally prune that information. So if you want to keep new info in your brain and keep it staying put, you have to keep practicing and rehearsing it. And so if you're learning a foreign language, I use Duolingo, you have to keep rehearsing and practicing. And so because I have been focused on German, some of my Spanish has depleted because I haven't used it. So the brain, through neurogenesis, pruned it and said, okay, you haven't used Spanish in a minute. You want me to use German. So now you're going to replace those Spanish words with German words. So you have to keep using the information or you will lose it and it will be replaced with something else. Number three is learn in multiple ways. So you can listen, visual, read, graphics, automated graphics. You can take notes. You can have conversations about what you've learned, and you can even draw a mind map. So I'll say those again. You can learn in multiple ways by listening. Right now, you're looking and listening at me, so I'm giving you a visual and an audible. You can read, you can use still graphics, you can use motion graphics or automated animated graphics. Take notes, which is what I suggest that you do all the time. You can have conversations about what you've learned with other people, and you can even draw mind maps. Now, what is a mind map? A mind map is something that you write down with a central theme, and then you have emerging themes off of that central theme. So you've seen a mind map, I'm sure, in your learnings and in your going about. The next way that you can learn is by learning in more than one way. So you're further cementing the knowledge that you have in your mind. So, for example, I have multiple playlists that will review some of the information in a different way. So, what I'm currently doing is the PA for the day and the Real Leader Brain have the same topic. So, today's topic was Surefire. So, Surefire is now in an audio format and it's also in a video format. And some of the information cross pollinates so you can see that information twice so that it can be put into your working memory. And there's research that says you need to see something 3 or more times in order for it to start sticking with you. Good morning, Regina. And good morning, Mahatma. And so the final thing is research has found that longhand note taking can help cement info more into the brain more effectively than digital note taking. So what happens is now we are in the age of my cousin is now in college. Everybody has a laptop, so they're taking notes off of their laptops. I obviously have been out of college many moons this year. It'll be 30 years since I graduated from college in April. And so as a result, I'm still old school. So right now, I'm coming to you from a spiral notebook from Target with an old school big pen. And that's how I learn. So I do this, and then I have a red pen as well that I use for my reading. I've been note taking this way since the mid 90s. And what happens is the research says technology is great. We're using technology right now, but in order for it to really become part of your brain and part of your working memory, you still need to write it down. And that's why we find that when we're speaking to people who are very much tech savvy, they go straight to, well, let me look it up. Well, let me look it up. Let me look it up because it's not up here. So there is a lot of information and it's great. I like technology. Almost paperless other than me taking notes. Everything else is digital for me. So it's having the combination of the two together so that your brain will start working. Because that's why years ago, the average reading comprehension was at a ninth grade reading level, and now it's at a sixth grade reading level. Some would argue a fifth grade because the information is coming in, but you're not retaining it because you don't have to, because you just look it up again. But the brain is saying, hey, give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Did that go through? Okay. So that's the third one, which is learn in multiple ways. The fourth one is teach what you are learning. So teach what you are learning to someone else. And when you have a presentation in class, remember back in the day, whether you were in middle school, elementary, even show and tell, all the way through your college years, if you attended university or college, you had group projects or you had the teacher would give or the instructor professor would give you a broad topic and then say, okay, do research on this. Greek mythology is something that Noah had to do. And so then you stand in front of the class, either with a group or yourself, and you give that information to everybody else. So that's teaching someone else what it is that you learned. At Frito-Lay, yes. So no, you said I think the fact that you can look things up is the reason why we don't see as many books in people's houses, because you don't have to have a book on a topic or a cookbook because you could just look it up. I think reading still has value. Done a lot of projects in Greek mythology. Yes, all of that is correct. And so at Frito-Lay, what we had was train the trainer. And so I've been a part of those certifications and then go off and train people how to train other people. So that's another example of it. And then teach what you are learning continued. So you start by translating the information into your own words. So I research and then I take that information and say, well, how does this apply to real leadership? And so then I put it through the real leadership funnel or real leader meter, and then I present that information to you. So while I do have notes, you can clearly see that I can talk for an hour. There's no way I have a written hour's worth of notes down here. So I take that subject And then I present it to you and say, oh, okay, well, how does this apply to your brain? How does this apply to real leadership? How does it apply to you and the principles of real leadership and how you can get that done? So when you're starting by translating information into your own words, this process alone helps you solidify new knowledge in your brain. So you read it, and then we all have our own way of speaking to ourselves. So once you say it to yourself in the way that you speak to yourself, it's going to be solidified in your brain. Then you find some way to share what you've learned. So anyone who's in the daily challenge, you take what you learn and then you go off and have a conversation with someone, and that information stays in your brain. And that's the whole point of that challenge, is for you to learn how to communicate effectively, but for you to also learn information that ordinarily you wouldn't be talking about. The other part of that challenge is most people talk about what they've seen or heard that day. And so, hey, did you hear about such and such? And then did you do this? And did you find out about this? But these topics that I have picked for in the daily challenges are things that you would never have a conversation about, like who invented shoelaces? Who invented the dog leash? Where did the term green thumb originate? Because that's one that I just did the other day. So now you're having different conversations about inventions. You're having different conversations about people, things that we use in day to day life. The other day, I had who invented the bath mat and where did that come from? So now you have all these different stories. And sometimes one thing has four different people attached to it at different times. And someone may have had the patent, someone may have not had the patent. And it's who was the originator. So it gets your brain thinking about these things. One of them is who invented the doorknob. So you're not even thinking, you just use a doorknob and not really thinking, or a door handle, not really thinking about where it came from. Now you go have conversations about that, and now you're connecting with the people around you in a different way. And so you have this oxytocin moment that would have never occurred had you not decided to do the 30 daily challenge. So if that's something that interests you, go to the website, turnarounddoctor.com, and sign up for that challenge. And then other ideas. So you can write a blog, you can write an article, you can create a podcast, or you can even create a small group. When I did used to attend church services, I went to mega churches at one point, and so they would have small groups, and you could pick, the small groups had different topics. So then you could go and sit with those small groups and find out more about whatever was the topic of that particular small group. So that worked out as well. So again, teach what you're learning to someone else. Things that you learn on this live, go off and teach to someone else. When you're doing a PA challenge, or if you're Real Leader Resources or anything else, go and share that information, because it's helping it solidify it in your mind, and then it's exposing another person to personal accountability, which is how we get to critical mass. And then the final one is build on previous learning. So you're using relational learning. And so this involves relating new info to things that you already know. So I have a couple of examples here. I'll say that again. Using relational learning. So this involves relating new info to the info that you already know. So I had my driver's license at 16. And then I went in the military at 22/23. So I knew how to drive civilian vehicles. So I could drive a conversion van, a car, because I didn't have a car. So anybody, and I don't drive a manual transmission. So if you had an automatic transmission, I could drive your car. Big old vans didn't matter. I just need an automatic transmission, and then I'm going to be able to drive your car. So I knew how to drive all different types of civilian vehicles. Then I went to the military and had to learn how to drive a Humvee, had to learn how to drive a 15-passenger van. And so that was a different type of vehicle. And then even had to learn how to drive the military sedans on the post, the ones that pull you over on post to give you tickets. So I needed a new military driver's license for that. But because I was an MP, I then had to go through defensive driving. So you just saw it on an episode of SWAT, where you're driving through the cones, you got to back up and go forward and back up again and do all of those things. And that actually served me well, because when I was in Bourne 5 and that's chase scene on the strip, we had to actually audition for that. And you had to be able to drive forward with a car darting in front of you. And then you had to be able to back up old school way, not using your mirrors, but actually looking over your shoulder. And so I passed those tests to be able to sit on a strip for 3 hours in the middle of the night, waiting on this car chasing to happen. And it's no fun when a car is coming at you, darting in and out, and you got to keep driving forward. So that was interesting, but I had already learned how to do that in the military, so that worked. And then when I went to Korea, I had to get a Korean driver's license to drive on the Korean economy. So at one point, I had a civilian driver's license, a military driver's license, and a Korean driver's license all at the same time because I needed to be able to drive. But it started with me learning how to drive from driver's training at Mumford High School way back in 1988, 89, somewhere around there. Okay, and then another example is that the systems that I learned when I was in basic training in the Army are the systems that I use to help my daughter in her business. So I took a previous existing system of cleaning everything up cleaning everything up and making sure it looked exactly the same when you leave. And there are other things from Lean Six Sigma Kaizen that I learned at Frito-Lay, a place for everything and everything in its place is how we run our households. So it's using everything and building upon that. So I'm in my 11th year of a book challenge, and I am always reading, taking information all the time and saying, oh, I remember when I read that book. I will refer to book, The McDonaldization of Society, The Tools, my book, The Art of War, Who Moved My Cheese. But I keep reading those books, some of them. So I read The Art of War, Who Moved My Cheese, and The 1 Minute Manager, and one more book constantly every year or multiple years. I've read Who Moved My Cheese 11 times. And so that book changes. No matter what's happening, I still get something out of it because I'm adding to my learning. So in summary, because we're going to get to the cognition part, and I want to make sure we have time to do all of that. So how to learn more effectively, part one. Number one, you need to improve your memory. Number two, you need to keep learning new things. So improve your memory, keep learning new things. Number three, learn in multiple ways. Number four, teach what you are learning. And number five, build on previous learning. So if you join late, just this live will be up on a YouTube channel. You can just go back once it loads and just watch the first 10 minutes or whatever time you ended up showing up. And that information is there. Just get your notes out, digital or written, and catch your notes up for that. Now, before we move on, we are transitioning to the learning portion of the live. And as I mentioned yesterday, it came to me the day before that I need to start teaching you more about the principles of real leadership and the connection to that. So you can take what you're learning from your brain. You can take the principles of real leadership, connect them so that you can actually implement them day in and day out. Okay, so I should have mentioned this at the beginning of live. I did not. I'm remiss for that. I apologize. Go ahead and get a secondary device out. I have said going forward, make sure that you have a second device so that you can go and look at the things that I'm telling you to look at. So go get a second device. Go to theturnarounddoctor.com so that we can do the learn new things today. And is Lola on here today? So when you get to the website, it's theturnarounddoctor.com. You are going to go to what is 553. And if you could give me a thumbs up, a yes, I got it, I'm there, so that I will know, because I do not want to leave anyone behind. So thumbs up when you are at theturnarounddoctor.com and you are on what is 553. Okay. Anyone else willing to put their thumbs up? Okay, so what is 553? And I'm going to read this aloud again. Answer: I have read 553 books in 120 months. Why? In October 2014, I went to see the movie The Equalizer. Denzel Washington's character was reading 100 books that everyone should read. I went home and Googled the list to determine if I had read any of the books. The next day, I was discussing the movie and the list of books with a friend. The friend made a bet with me that I could not read 100 books in 1 year. To make it even more of a challenge, instead of reading the actual list mentioned in the movie, the books were from two categories: business and professional development. Never one for backing down, I accepted the challenge. Additionally, I wanted to have a way to confirm that I was actually reading the books. As a result, I have recorded a video every week for 10 years, providing book reviews and analysis. Below, you will find the links to the playlist for each year's book challenge, starting with the most recently completed book challenge. So, 10, this challenge was to read 50 books in 1 year and to break a cycle or create a new cycle. 9, the challenge was to read 50 books in 1 year and to conduct one new beginning weekly. 8, the challenge was to read 50 books in 1 year and to conduct a daily discipline. 7, the challenge was to read 50 books in 1 year to conduct one act to build strength weekly. 6, the challenge was to read 50 books in 1 year and to conduct an act of balance and harmony weekly. 5, the challenge was read 50 books in 1 year and to attack fear by taking one weekly risk. 52, the challenge was to read 52 books in 52 weeks. Mo 50, the challenge was to read 50 books and watch 50 motivational videos on YouTube. 50/50 challenge, the challenge was to read 50 books and to watch 50 TED Talks. And 101, the challenge was to read 100 books in 1 year, and the books were printed, audio, and e-books. By the way, we actually read 101 books. Of course, I kept the book challenge going for the 11th year, and this year's challenge is 11. Now, and that should be 553. So I'm glad I saw that because I need to update that. Okay, so here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Why did I show you that? And I'm glad I was on there. So now let me note that I didn't update that part. Anyone, why did we read this? And I know I have to be there for the delay. I just want to make sure that my question was clear. Thank you for that, Regina. If you're thinking, ... To know about the book challenges, okay? Because we probably haven't taken the time to read ourselves, okay, Kevin? And Regina type ... So I'll address this while Regina is typing. So Nola, yes, to know about the book challenges. That's a very good answer because it is true. I have mentioned that I am in my 11th book challenge, 11 years of doing it. We're on YouTube. I've said that the videos are on YouTube, but I haven't said I could be saying that, and it could not be true. People don't tell the truth all the time, and who's going to go check? Nobody's like, they're like, hey, you're credible. I'll take your word for it. But to know, once again, I don't do anything without a strategy, and I want you to understand how it started. So it started with me going to see The Equalizer, taking something from a movie to go, well, when I get home, because I wasn't reading the book. The most, prior to that book challenge, the most books I had ever read in a year was 24. And so that was a lot. That was 2 books a month. And so now that meant I was going to have to read 2 books a week. So I went from reading 2 books a month to 2 books a week with an additional book. So that was a hunormic challenge. So there was no book challenge. I had a couple videos that I was putting on my YouTube channel in 2013. This was the end of 2014, October timeframe. And so I started this challenge. So I basically quadrupled my goal 24 books, and now I'm about to read 100 books. And oh, by the way, it's not the list that was in from the movie. It's business and professional development books, the kind of just snooze fest. It's going to make you fall asleep. And they were ebooks, audiobooks, and printed books as well. And you haven't read 24 books in your lifetime. Wow. Okay. So 24 books in a year. I have quadrupled the goal, and I'm going to do it in a year. And I'm going to triple down and say, because the person was in Detroit, I had to have a way of saying I read the book. I read the book. I read the book. So I said, I'm going to just do a book review. I need content for my YouTube channel anyway. Let me go ahead and read the book and make a video. Now, mind you, this is 2014. So phones and all that, we're talking 11 years ago. Stuff wasn't like it is now. You couldn't just click. You had to use Adobe, iMovie, and all kinds of stuff to make YouTube videos. At that point, you couldn't upload more than a 10-minute video to YouTube. So all I had was my Mac Pro book and this finger right here. And I don't think you were even in video editing yet. So I would go ahead, read the book, memorize everything that I was going to say. So if you want to go to the 101 book review challenge, I am sitting like this at my desk, holding my finger on the record button on my computer, using my left hand because I'm right-handed, and I do the entire book review without looking at notes. And the only thing I do is hold up the next book review. And so I did that for 52 straight weeks. And I would start the video, sit there, stop, and take my finger off. And that's how the videos ended for all of 101. And then into 102, by that time, Nola was taking video production at school. So she started editing my videos, and we were using Adobe. We were using some other formats, Biteable and everything else, because you still had to edit your videos using software at that point. And I think by 52 or Mo50, we found KineMaster, or we were using Adobe. And then we even went so far as to start making them PowerPoint presentations while we were still using Adobe. And it would take us like 2 days to put the PowerPoint presentations together, and then put it in Adobe, turn it into slideshows, and then add music and all of that. And so now if you go and look at the most recent book reviews, I'm vertical on my phone because we don't have time with her business, with me doing lives. I don't have the time that it takes. It's a 3-day commitment because I'm reading the books. Then I got to pick what I'm saying out of the book reviews, turn it into a PowerPoint, do all the transitions, add music, and then upload it. Currently, our lives don't allow us to do that. Our life doesn't allow us to do that. So now it's vertical. But that has been going on since November of 2014. And we are now in February of 2015. So number one, that's the first reason why. So that you will know, because I say it and you just experience these things without ever really understanding. I don't do anything without a strategy. So it's one thing to read the books, because Kevin is like, I ain't read that many books. Documented proof behind your words and actions. Right. So keep your word. That's one of the 74 principles of real leadership. I have to keep my word. Now, I'll ask this question before I move on to Kevin's question. When I said I'm in my 11th year of a book challenge, what were your initial thoughts? I'm in my 11th year of reading a book a week. I take off weeks 26 and 52, 26 to take a break, 52 to prepare for the next year's challenge. What did you think when I said that? Because I've said it a lot. Kind of a lot. Okay, Kevin, have a good one. Kind of a lot to process. Okay, got it. All right, so that's the process. Now let me go back to Kevin's answer. His reply was because we probably haven't taken the time to read ourselves, which makes his sense that he's saying that he hasn't read 24 books in his lifetime. So the point is that reading is fundamental, and that's one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And again, in my 11 years, 10 and a half, because I'm not complete with this book challenge, I've learned more in my 10 and a half years of reading books than in my 23 years of going to school. I've learned more in my 10 and a half years of reading books than my 23 years of going to school, because in school I hadn't read 500 and something books. Hadn't. Even with 4 years of English, that didn't occur. And I get to pick the books that I read. So I get to pick the topics and the subjects. When you're in school, even when you're working on your degrees, you have to read books based upon that class, based upon the reading list, the requirements, and everything. So you got to learn what the teacher or instructor or professor is telling you, but you don't get to learn the things that you actually want, that you'll actually use. So that's the answer to Kevin is yes, because people haven't read. And then Regina, you said once again, reading is fundamental. You can find time to read if that's a priority you set. Reading does keep the mind cognitively strong, healthy, and builds neural pathways. That is correct. It does do that. And one of the things that people say all the time in sales and marketing is if you want people to not know what to do, put it in the owner's manual. So if you put something in the owner's manual, people aren't going to read it. Now you can just search it, see the part that you want, and then you can look at it and say, okay, that's the only information that I want. But the brain has a reason why it needs to read as well. So you process it from watching it is different than reading it, than writing it, and it needs to be a full body workout. So think of reading as your core. So you can have strong arms and you can have strong legs, but if you don't read, the core is what holds everything up and down, and you use it so much. It wasn't until I had surgery on my stomach that I realized how important my core actually was to everything that I do. So taking in that information, processing it, and using it comes from actual reading. When you listen to an audiobook, it's not the same. And I've listened to audiobooks because you can miss something. So when you can see it in front of you, it's different. The brain processes it differently. So read every day, 15 minutes or more, nonfiction. Reading is fundamental. That's something that you need to do because it's for your own cognitive fitness. And the reason why it's nonfiction is because we live in a nonfiction world. We're not going to see a fairy come and jump down out of the moon and sprinkle dust on somebody. We're not going to have a tooth come up and talk to us or any of that. And the imagery and everything is great with fiction. And I understand that. But you live in the real world and you need to navigate through the real world to become your best in the world in which we reside. So you need information to process it. And what we talked about the other day is, and Candy said this from Escape many years ago, she said, when we started out in music, the music companies would finish you off. They would give you voice lessons and teach you how to interview and all of that. And now they expect you to come ready. They don't have time. They expect athletes to come to school ready. No one has time to teach the fundamentals anymore. So it's up to you to learn that. If you look at job applications online, sometimes I just go on LinkedIn and look. I want you to have all this experience in this job at this company. Bring all the experience with you to help our company. I ain't at your company yet. The candidate must be able to blah, blah, blah. The thing is this damn long. Like, so what y'all doing? If this is the job description, sound like y'all want me to come in and do everything nobody else knows how to do already. So that's why reading is so fundamental, because you get skill sets and information that's in your brain that helps with your working memory. So it is up to you currently. And that's why you actually need to read every single day. And because also I'm showing you and demonstrating to you that I'm still learning. I'm not using the theory of personal accountability that started way back in 1990, and that's it. I'm using information that I read last week. I'm using information that I read today. Because once you become Dr. Donna, Dr. whomever, technically you don't have to learn anything else because you're teaching people what you are already an expert in. So unless you're publishing or perishing or doing some research of sorts, you're not really learning anything new. And that's what I found out about people as I got older. I'm like, wow, they don't have any new information for me. I need some new information and they don't have it. So the ABLing always be learning means that I want current recent information until the day after I'm no longer here. And that can't happen if I'm unwilling to take any more information in. So I read all kind of books, and I don't go to, when I first started the book challenges, I went to Barnes and Noble, and then that got expensive. So I started going to the library, checking out books, and then I started going to the used bookstore at the libraries, and that exhausted. So I went to different libraries, and now I go between the Sahara Library and Savers because people are always donating books. And the benefit that I learned is that most people don't read the books that they buy. So things are bestsellers, but they're not best readers. So that Steve Jobs book that's like $30 or $40, the one that was written right before he passed, I got that book at the Sahara Library for $1. For $1, and it had not been read. And I tell people all the time I have a rare book collection, and that's because the books I bought were rarely read by their previous owners. So it's a rare occasion. Now, you're not going to be able to buy none of my books because I will dog ear right in the margin and everything else. But that's where I go now. At Savers, you can get 50% off. The last time we went, I think I got 9 books for about $5. So yeah, people don't read them. And we had a couple that moved to Italy, and he was giving away books. I took like 27 books from him, and that's where I got the Isabella Wilkerson Cass book from. So I will definitely, if we're doing garage organizations, I don't want that book anymore. Okay, cool, I'll take it. And I read all kind of information. So I've read things about black hats and mafia people and people from different companies. Yeah, rare book collection from people from different countries, world leaders, princes, royalty, all kind of people, because I want to understand how the global world works. And the only way that I can do that is if I read it for myself from basically the horse's mouth. So a lot of autobiographies, a lot of biographies. There are a lot of books that I thumbs down. Doesn't meet the Real Leader book meter, so I will thumbs down it. A couple books I got 2 thumbs down. Some books I will say read if. I've read a lot of books about coaching, a couple players, football players, and things of that nature. Andre Agassi. So if you can't, what Nola and I joke about is if you came in our house and looked at my library and you tried to determine my gender or my ethnicity or my age, you wouldn't be able to do it by my book collection. You'd be sitting there and bumfuzzled, like, I don't know who this person is. And then we even said it seems like it's like 2 to 3 people's book collection combined together. So everybody's using the bookcases, but you would have no idea. I've had people go through the list and say, "Yeah, I've only read a couple of those books." And so on the YouTube channel, there is one playlist that has all the book reviews in it, and then all of the book reviews are their own playlist. So we add the book reviews to that same total tally, and then each individual. So on this page, you just click on that and it will take you to that book review. But I do challenge you today to go click on 101 so that you can see the evolution of where I started. So people will tell you to start where you are, and they're way, way, way in the galaxy, but you can't see it when they first started. And that's why I leave all my videos and all my posts everywhere, because that's where I was. And that might be where you are. If you don't know how to edit and all you got is one finger to push on that button and record and stop, then you start where you are with what you have. So this isn't a matter of, and we did some stuff filming with some cameras and did some other things, and then I was just so happy that phones became extremely smart, so I wouldn't have to do all of those things anymore. Okay, what questions do you have about 553 or book reviews before we move on to the cognitive fitness? Okay, no questions? And I even wish I knew how long the delight was. Okay, so still on the website, you're going to go to the social. Okay. Yes, it has helped increase my vocabulary, Regina. Thank you for that question. What I have noticed is that when I look back at older videos, I mean, I have had speaking certifications and things of that nature the entire time. But what it has increased is my ability to choose words in that moment. And what I do is I watch people in their interviews, and I watch college professors, elected officials, famous people, people who are famous for being smart or intelligent. And what happens is, and that person that told me I was articulate on the live, I think it was last week, what happens is, because there are so many words that I'm taking in, my word choice is much more diverse. So that's an individual lexicon, which is your own personal vocabulary, is that it has increased my ability to choose words differently than, let's say, your average bear. So, there are great orators, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, a couple other people giving speeches and things like that. But in the normal conversation, so people that give great speeches, they have speech writers. That's different than communicating effectively. And so what I have found is that because I am consistently reading, my ability to communicate more effectively actually has increased exponentially, because I'm constantly processing and taking words and languages in. And that, between that and Duolingo, and then also what has helped immensely is of videos. So I'm creating content because I create my own content. I write my own blogs. I make my own posts. I do my own videos. That has helped with everything as well, because I have to communicate in many different forms. Sometimes I'm Wilma, as I mentioned, in the exons. So I have to do word choice if I'm doing a still graphic versus a motion graphic, the timing of making all that come in. So it has all worked together. When you have to do everything yourself, you become more skilled in all of those areas. And when you have a team, as I mentioned, when I first started, I did have two interns and two graphic designers that were doing things for me, and they weren't at best. They were at that 70% from that video that you watched. And so I said, forget it. I'm going to just teach myself how to do this so that I know that it will be at the level that I want it to be at, and I will be seeing it in my head. And now I can't get them to see what's up here. So let me do it myself so that I can do it. And then some would argue, well, you have to, that takes too much time. And Ford said he doesn't have to be smart. He hires smart people and all of that. But what are you missing out on when you don't get that skill set? Because you have that skill set. And I've told this to my daughter, at a minimum, you have to have a working understanding of what it is that you need done. So you can tell when you hire someone, you can tell that person is going to be an A player or not. So if you don't know how to do it at all, and they tell you that they can, because I've seen this in small business, especially, someone tells you that they know how to do something, and because you don't know, they talk a good game. The next thing you know, you've paid them a lot of money, and to no avail, you don't have the results that they promised that they would deliver. And now you have to fire them. You're out of money. You have to start over again. So at a minimum, having a working knowledge helps you get to everything. And I know that was a long answer to a short question. But yes, reading every day has increased my vocabulary exponentially. Okay, now on the website, go to the social media tab. And then once you're there, go to Medium. And then once you're there, select the first article there, which is Weight, and it was written on December 11th, 2024. So if you're at Medium, then go to Weight, which is the last article that was written. And so let me know when you're at Weight. Either thumbs up, yes, got it. Okay. Noel and I are overtasking our internet. Classes are crooked. Okay. Go ahead and read the article. And when you're finished, just type in finished. And I have a typo in there. Okay, you're done. All right. What did you learn, or what was your takeaway? Life will pass you by if you don't do what needs to be done now, Regina. Oh, excuse me. And if you continue waiting, you're on hold, pause, stopping, and going, not making any progress achieving goals. That's from Regina as well. And while Nola is typing up what she's saying in the spirit of staying on time because of the delay, we're probably tasking our Wi-Fi. So here's the thing. This is the takeaway. Number one, Nola, don't wait, do. Got it. So here's the thing. Number one, I maintain my website. I was doing websites way back in 2013 when you still had to put the meta descriptions and all of that in there. So I don't have a web developer. I have a very simple WordPress website that works on a GoDaddy hosting. There is no information that you input on my website. It's for informational purposes only. Any links that are on there click to other social media platforms. When I first started doing websites, I used to have the pop-ups and I had constant contacts and email lists and all those things that people currently do. I've evolved past doing all of those things. And so I have a typo on my website that I need to fix. I need to add 553. I can do that from my phone through my GoDaddy app. I also have a typo in this blog or article, depending on how people discuss it. And so I have a Medium app on my phone that I'm going to do immediately. As soon as I get off the live, bada boom, bada bing. If I had a web developer, if I were the person not writing my content, and so I'm not the one publishing things on Medium, now I have to contact someone else. And I have to wait and get in their order of what they have to do. If I've outsourced it, if they work for me, I still have to wait because they will have other work that they're doing. By doing both of knowing how to do both of these things myself, this will be done in a matter of minutes. However long it takes me, the Medium will be quick. The GoDaddy one will take longer because I have to actually get onto the server and access that page in order to make that. But within 10 minutes, both of these things shall be taken care of. That's number one. So I have the technical competence. Be technically competent is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So I can manage my website, every word on there, every picture, every photo, everything has been typed by myself. And I can do the same thing with my blogs or articles. So this graphic at the top, I made that. All the words, I wrote those. All of it is 100% coming from me. So that's when you start holding yourself personally accountable to become your best, you increase your own technical competence, and it doesn't take a village in order for you to be high functioning. It doesn't take much to do that. Now, there are hundreds of articles, and I don't write articles every week anymore because I have other things that I'm publishing as well. So now it's, oh, let me write an article about that. Let me put an article up. But at one point, I was writing articles weekly, but there were other things that I wasn't posting 85 times a day when I was writing an article weekly. So things are cyclical. And when the need arises at this point for this information to be in a written format, that is when I now publish a blog. So those are the takeaways from that. Also, people think, oh, I got to write this long article. We'll see things that are 5-minute read, that are a 10-minute read. I have a couple articles that might be a 3-minute read. One might be a 5-minute read. So it doesn't take a lot to get information out. And this format is because I started writing poetry in 2023. And so I'm now taking my poetry formatting, adding it to my article formatting. And so I'm combining two, which is another way for people to learn. Because sometimes people don't have the capacity to read a 5-minute article to get a message across. And to your point, Regina, when you asked if it increased my reading, increased my vocabulary, it also increased my ability, my creativity to say, how can people get information? It's a simple topic, wait. And now, how can I convey this message from a leadership perspective? And now people can take away what they need to take away without me saying, here are the takeaways from this article. Not necessary, because with real leadership, there is this openness where you can take in what you need to take in and say, how does this apply to me? So all of that is inside this 1.5 to 2-minute read article for you. And it further continues to demonstrate that I'm not just doing these things haphazardly. I'm not just throwing something on the wall to see what it sticks, but that it takes prior planning and preparation to prevent piss poor performance. That's what's actually happening. So when I say don't do anything without a strategy, I'm demonstrating I don't do anything without a strategy. It's not just on the lives, it's in everything that I do. I don't create content without a reason for creating it. So I'm not just like, well, what y'all doing? Well, I need to make a video today. So here I am. I guess I'm just talking about my Pearl Vision glass case. It's not that. It's how does this connect to real leadership? And even when I create a new type of posting, a new topic, a new playlist on YouTube, I have to say what's already there and what makes this different than what's already there, and how is it going to benefit somebody. And if it doesn't benefit people, like the yes and no challenge that was there this time last year, it didn't work. So the yes and no challenge is no more. So I'm showing you these things so that you can understand, number one, when you have the complete use of your frontal lobe and you use all 17 to 18 hours of your awake time, you have the ability to produce more. So you don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of people. What you need is the full capacity of your frontal lobe. So you have to get rid of unaccountable people. You have to get rid of people who don't want to be the best because they're stopping you from your best. So I'm a walking example of what's possible from thousands and thousands of days of being here when you just put forth your best effort. You see 101, and I started with my finger on here, and now I can have things, I can do voiceovers, animation, things flying in and out, all kind of things that I could not do, that I needed other people to do when I first started, that I know how to do myself. So you can be self-taught, but it's in your daily. It's that learning and adding to what's already there every single day. That's how you get things done. So my follow-up, I'll do the other exercise because we're at 6:24. So I want to make sure we get out on time. I'll do this other one tomorrow. Let me write that down. So it's for Saturday, because we have part 2. So there were 10 strategies to help you learn more. So we'll do the other 5 tomorrow, and I'll add this to that. But I want to follow up with 2 things. Number one, who did you solicit feedback from? And Kevin, on your when you're watching this again, go ahead and put in the messages or send me a message and tell me What did you get feedback or did you get destructive criticism yesterday when you solicited feedback? Dang it, I needed that still. And I can say mine was talking to Nola, and I was asking about the format of changing and incorporating the real leader principles into it, and did it now make more sense because I was being the conduit and making the connection so that you could further understand how and when to use the principles of real leadership in your day-to-day life with your brain together. Okay, got it. Okay, so today, Regina, you will have two. So what needs to take place is that you're going to solicit feedback from someone, and the objective is that if someone is giving you performance focused feedback, you're going to ask them about something you're doing, and if they attack you as a person, then that would be considered destructive criticism because they're talking about you. But if they give you feedback on performance or your behavior, then they're actually giving you feedback. So if you were wondering, is this person capable of giving you feedback versus destructive criticism, that will give you your answer. So you have that to do today, plus this other one. And you can follow up tomorrow on how that works. And the reason why you do that is because sometimes you think that you have a personally accountable person in your life, but you don't know for sure. Once you start using the principles of real leadership, you will know most certainly if you actually have a person that's personally accountable or not, because it will be in their behaviors. Remember, personal accountability does not have a description. What it actually has are you're listening to what people do. So you're looking and assessing their behaviors based upon the 74 principles of real leadership. And Nola, do you have your example? Because you did it. So are you typing it up? I know there is a delay. So that's why, again, it's very important for you to put ... so then I know that you are about to type something because I can't see you. So putting the ... lets me know to expect that something is coming. So Nola said, I solicited feedback when asking you about the outcome about a basketball season based upon stats because you were a former overseas basketball coach. Yes. And so did I give you feedback or did I give you destructive criticism? And now everybody's wondering how the hell was Dr. Donna an overseas basketball coach? Like, when? When did you do that? Definitely feedback. So what Nola is referencing before we get out of here is that when I was stationed in Korea, I coached women's basketball in Korea. And so we traveled throughout Korea. It was all soldiers in the army. We traveled throughout Korea playing other women's basketball teams at the different army military installations located in South Korea. So that is what she's talking about. No, I was the coach. So I actually was the actual coach. So it was myself and another. Yeah, coaching may say, "Oh, you can't see me playing." I got handles. They used to call me the mosquito. I was a defensive player when I played. I actually was going to play high school basketball, and then I went to summer basketball camp and jammed my finger, and that bad boy took 3 weeks to heal. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not cut out for this. I can't." But then I'd go pick and be a ROTC as if that was easier. Go figure. Yeah, so when we had to do organized sports for PT, nobody they called me the mosquito because I was everywhere. But no, I was coaching with another lieutenant, and then she ended up leaving and going to a different installation. So that made me go from assistant coach to head coach. Yeah. So then I finished out the season as the head coach of the team. We won the championship. Or got second. I can't remember. Had a trophy at some point. I don't think we have a picture of the trophy. But that's what was happening over there. So that's what Nola is referencing. Okay, so for today, if you go to the 74 Principles of Real Leadership and you go to Leader Led, and for today's Real Leader Principle that you will be using is number 9, think positive. And so you are going to spend your day thinking positive. And no matter what is taking place, you are going to see the positive aspects of what is actually taking place today. And make note of when you find yourself not thinking positively. And I'll use myself as an example. So there are things happening behind the scenes that people, here's what I will say. If we, and I thought about this morning while I was making up my bed. So all of the hijacking amygdala things that we have that take place in our day-to-day life, I won't say all, but I'll say 95% are from other people. We won't really have no Tyrannosaurus Rex coming after us, no cheetahs, no real imminent danger, someone trying to come and harm us day in and day out. That's not, a reason to go seek safety and not safety, but go to a safe haven. We don't have that. What we have are other adults and sometimes teenagers hijacking our amygdala. So we are walking around with a bunch of false positives all day long. All day long, that is what the fear is. That is what the negative thinking and everything is coming from unaccountable adults and their inability to hold themselves personally accountable to become their best. So that's why I chose think positive, because it's easy to think negative. We are just, negativity bias has been passed down for thousands and thousands of years. And it went from running from a saber-toothed tiger to running from your neighbor, to running from someone at work, to running from somebody in your family. It just meant seek safety somewhere. Just think negative. That person is bad. This person did this. And so you have this long CVS receipt tally of all of the things that people have done that you need to be afraid of and that will cause you to think negatively. And so I'm saying, stop. Stop and think positive. Stop and say, these are hijacked amygdalas out here putting all of this information out here. Because as I mentioned, when you walk outside your door, do you actually see those things? And if you do something about it. If you don't, why? Why are you thinking negatively? You just walk outside. And if you are in an environment where that is taking place, what is your strategy to get out of that environment? What are you doing to say, this may be where I'm at right now, but I sure ain't staying here. I'm not up here. I'm not here up here. So you're going to think positively. Anything that comes, doom scrolling on social media, anything that comes anywhere, you're going to say, no, I'm not accepting that. The Wonder Woman, Captain America with the shield. It's not happening, because someone has to start changing what it is that's taking place. Someone has to start. Let it begin with us. So thinking positive all day long. And if you find yourself thinking negatively, remember, all day long until you take your amazing head and lay it on your amazing pillow, think positive. Okay? You can start typing in what you've learned today. I'm going to close with this. I don't know if Lola is on here. I sent her a message on LinkedIn as well. And so when she said yesterday that she thought learning with the berries and other things, I laughed and cracked a joke. And then I thought about it and I thought that that could be considered insensitive to her. So I sent her an apology to LinkedIn, because that's how we communicate. And I'm saying it here today. I don't know if she's working, if she's on here, but I apologize because that statement could have been misconstrued and been insensitive to what you thought was taking place. It was more like wild berries. And that it doesn't matter if that's what I thought. If she felt offended by that laughter in that statement, then apologizing is the right thing to do. And you apologize when you are wrong. So I'm publicly doing it. And yeah, and if she comes back on a live, then I will publicly apologize again, but I want that to be within 24 hours. So I did it immediately after I got off the live yesterday, and I'm doing it publicly here because real leaders apologize when we are wrong. And after I wasn't thinking in the moment, and I'm not excusing that. I'm saying in the moment, had I thought about it yesterday, I would have apologized right then and there, but it wasn't until after I got off the live that I processed it. So I immediately sent her a message, and I am saying it as well. The final thing that I will say as you're typing up what it is that you've learned is this. Real leadership is different. It's different than anything else that you will ever experience in your life. It is different. And it is a process that is ever evolving. So I did not create this process in 2018, published it in 2019, and I'm just using what's in my book. That's not what's taking place. What's taking place is as the world is changing, as I am changing and growing, I am adding to real leadership. Now, the thing with that is there is this variability to it. And so what happens is it feels like it's new. It feels like it could potentially be in its infancy stages. And so that's the other reason why we're going to the archives. That's the other reason why we're going to the website, because it could feel potentially like it's novice, like I'm figuring things out. But what I'm doing, as Nola and I had a conversation, is I'm adding to real leadership every single day. Every single day, I'm adding to it. Now, are there things that need to be taken away or pruned or playlists that I don't contribute to anymore on YouTube, or concepts or video topics that I don't do? Yes. I don't do IGTV anymore because Instagram got rid of IGTV. So that's gone. But this is what life looks like when you AB gene. Always be growing. And that sometimes is hard to process, because who do you know that's doing that? People say, I'm changing, but not really, because it isn't this noviceness to it, this beginner's brain thing that people are learning. So people get to a high position of power and authority, and they might dabble in Duolingo, they might learn how to cook, but that whole notion of, I might mess this up. I got a typo on my website that I'm about to fix and a typo on my blog. Uh-oh, made a mistake. Now what are you all going to think of me? I'm showing you where I was kind of at, and where I'm currently at. And I'm saying when you start working on your personal legend, when you're past purchasing and possessing and all of that, and you get to self-actualization, this is what self-actualization looks like. When you've done all of that, when you've purchased your way till you just done, and when you've had enough relationships and you've done all of those other things with other people, and now it's time for you, this is what it looks like. This is how you do it, to quote Montel Jordan. This is what's taking place. So that's what's taking place. So this isn't this, and I have no issue with saying, yep, that worked. Nope, that didn't. Because what happens in companies, you see it, they have something, Google Glasses aren't there anymore. We don't know what happened. They just stopped. Google Plus isn't there anymore. It's gone. There are apps that are here. MySpace is gone, and other things are here and gone. And I'm showing you from a human perspective. When you are constantly changing and evolving, you are adding to your working memory, pruning from your working memory, but everything is working because the objective is best. And when you are vulnerable enough and transparent enough to have people come along that journey with you, you get to see it so you can start to do your version of it, and you will not be afraid. You do not have to have all of it figured out when you start. What you need is a strategy that you can adjust along the way. So I'm telling you, leap, take a risk, take the challenge, grow, challenge yourself, grow forward, and see what happens. When I started that book review challenge in November of 2014, I had no idea that I'd still be doing it in February of 2025. But I started, and the steps just continue to lead us to where we are today. When I started lives 473 days ago, I had no idea that I would still be doing lives every day. But this is where I am in life. And so I'm telling you, it's okay to grow. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to start something, get to the end, finish it, and then say, well, that didn't work. Let me go and do something else. That's a part of becoming self-actualized. That's a part of growing and becoming your personal best by holding yourself personally accountable. And that's what it means to be a real leader. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. Now you know that you're doing the right thing. But if you want it to be something other than what it is, then this probably isn't for you. And that's okay too. I'm not saying that everybody will hold themselves personally accountable. I hope you do because it works. But that's what I said before. People have free will, and you will do it or you won't do it. And it's okay. Either way, I'm going to keep doing it. And that's all I'll say about that. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying is that it's constantly growing and evolving. And if you want it to stay at a certain point, that's not what's going to happen because no one should stay stuck at a certain point, at a certain level of comfort. That's not good for anybody. So, Regina, you said, I appreciated 5 strategies for learning more effectively and you walking us through your thinking behind your book challenges. Nola, I learned or remembered about the 553 tab. Okay. So again, no, Regina, you have that you're going to be you have to do your follow up, solicit feedback, follow up, get that done today, and then to think positive for the rest of today, all the way up until tomorrow. If you're on the live tomorrow, then you can report out on what you noticed about thinking positive around whatever is taking place. And today's Friday, I think. So this is a good day to see how all of that's going to go and go for you. So thank you for your time today and the time that you've taken to evaluate yourself and take in things that will make you best. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, a different t-shirt. You all have a fantastic Friday. Adios.